Hello and welcome to Witchy Wellness Radio. I'm your host, Lauren Chalantani, women's holistic health coach and fellow recovering perfectionist. This podcast was created to show you that your body is not in the way, it is actually leading your way. I am very particular about the type of CBD and hemp products that I use. There's so much hype and lack of testing and quality in the industry. So the company that I love and use is Evo Hemp. Not only do they have a beautiful product like hemp seeds, CBD oil, gummies, even hemp chocolate, protein bars, protein powder, they also support a 40-acre co-op farm in Minnesota, which is farmer-owned, focusing on bringing equality and innovation back to Black, Indigenous, and other socially disadvantaged farmers. So if you are looking into trying any type of CBD or hemp products, head over to evohemp.com. The link is in the show notes, and make sure you use code WICHY, WICTHY, for 20% off of your purchase. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Witchy Wellness Radio. This is a show you learn how your body and emotions are not in the way. They are actually leading your way. We have a fellow witch on the show today, Teena Montgomery. We're here to talk all things about how to shift our energy, stand in our power. And she is a beautiful entrepreneur and creator of The Witch Way. We'll jump into all of her passions and her witchcraft in a second. But first, welcome to the show, Teena. I'm so excited to have you on and chat all things witchy today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me too. It's an honor, and I'm so happy that we can relate, and we were very similar in, certain things that we do in our lives.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I started Witchy Wellness 4 years ago, was to have a platform for fellow witches to come on and share their magic with the world. Because I know when we do that shadow work, the inner healing, and show up for ourselves, we naturally want to give back and share that passion and what works for us and our own creation with the world. And that's why I created this. Yeah,
no, that's amazing. And it is too, and it's becoming, more known. And I'm finding there's a lot of witches out there, and a lot, wanting the same thing, like to give at the end of the day, and obviously to share. There's no right or wrong way in what we do. I've found, or that's my belief.
Beautiful. Well, I would love to hear your own kind of heroine's journey of your own witch transformation, because I know a lot of times for us, it just isn't something that happens overnight. There's a beautiful story behind it all. Could you enlighten us on your story behind your witch?
Yeah, sure. From a very young age, probably 6 or 7, I experienced different things that weren't really normal, and not sort of knowing what it was. You're a child and you just live with it. And that was probably really only 10 years ago, so not that long. So I'd experienced all this spiritual, journey throughout my life. But in terms of the actual being a witch, I was at a little market and people were doing tarot readings, and there was a witchcraft. I wasn't even really familiar with what it was. And when I sat down, a lady that had been doing readings, she'd done a couple for me in the past, she said, Teena, what you actually are is a witch. You're a green witch, in terms of herbs. And it resonated to me too, because I do burn herbs, and, I'm like, wow. And I'd actually just looked at books prior to that with Wicca, and I went back to the stand, and that's where I bought my first book. I don't read a lot. A lot of it is just generally how I feel in my gut and my intuition, and that's how I work now. But it was actually just a good understanding or background. I'm always drawn to paganism or the Vikings, or a lot of that stuff as well. They intrigue me, and there's just something, I think, from past lives that I've brought through to this life, and it has all just brought everything together. So since then I've been practicing, and Which Way, my business, the name came to me, a few years before I actually started the business. So as I say, things happen for a reason. So I'd gone and, put my business name on the side, and then, sure enough, here we are. We've got Which Way. We've got an online store, and I practice very regularly. I'm, understanding the moons a lot more, but mine's more to do with, the candles and the burning of the herbs, and crystals. That's sort of where my witchcraft is based and how I practice. And it's mainly for myself. Sometimes people will, want a bit of assistance, and it's all good that I practice as well. So any certain blockages, I do spiritual healings, energetic healings, and I find that the mix of my spells in with the actual energetic healings work amazingly well together. And then my awakening, I suppose my spiritual awakening is advancing as well in terms of my readings and connecting with spirit, that loved ones that have passed over. Like, the more I do, the more intuitive and the more awakening, I suppose, that's happening to my body. So I just love it.
Yeah, it all takes like one little intuitive hit, right? Like hearing that
Yes.
woman tell you that, and or listening to a podcast, which is why I love doing what I do. But it's the
Yeah.
act of following through. And you might not know, 5 years from now what it's going to look like, but it's just that's being a witch, listening to your
Correct.
intuition one step at a time.
And someone said to me too, because like I was having conversation, just recently, and that's a thing. Like, you feel like you may be repeating or doing the same thing, but to some person that's in need just needs to hear that one word. So with podcasts or just a conversation, whatever it may be, just a word or a post or something like that, and that can change a person's life, and put them on the right direction, or what they're actually, missing in their life to complete, what they're doing. So I think they're very important, and it's good to make everyone aware of
I,
what we do.
I totally agree. And I know a lot of the work that you do, we talked off air about shifting energy and, being an empath, but also being in your own power, because it's been a lifelong lesson for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of you listeners can relate, is once you realize, oh my God, I'm really picking up other people's energy or the world, and what's mine, what's other people's, and it can feel very overwhelming, and you almost, I know parts of my life, reconfirmation
Yes.
there, I've shut down completely,
Yes.
energetically, and lived outside my body. So what is your take on like being an empath? I know you have lots of beautiful practices that you do every day to kind of help balance that out.
I,
But
I
what's your
think
perspective on this?
I totally agree, because the more you open yourself, and the more in tune you become, the more susceptible you are to actually, like, not only good, but you can get bad. Like, you can get psychic attacks. Your energy can be depleted. So I think it's always good. You don't have to use anything, buy anything, but just a matter of saying, like, whoever you talk to or believe in, your gods, goddesses, spirits, guides, whoever it may be that you relate to, you just ask them for protection, when you're leaving your house. And if you are more of an empath and you do attract their energies, I put like a golden cloak over myself, and just like a net. And for me, I visualize it when I'm doing it. I think it gives it more power. And then just for that protection, because you don't know, someone can just look at you or have a thought and not even know they're doing it, and then put something your way. So I think it's always good for protection for yourself. If you come home and you feel overwhelmed and you feel so exhausted, just a matter of washing your hands, having a shower, just to, just like let it all run off you. um, to me, I go to the extent of where I'm doing my witchcraft, I'll burn a coal, I'll put black salt, I use black salt for everything. And depending on how I'm feeling to re-energize or move or shift anything, I burn a relevant herb, that relates to what I'm trying to achieve. I'll burn a white candle, I'll burn a black candle, like, depending on what I'm wanting to move. That's pretty extreme, I think. But for, just today's society, or anyone out there, or anyone just wanting to move, I think it's good just in your mind, to think, and our minds are very powerful. So if we believe and we put an emphasis on, like, as they say, what you currently believe, even if it's not good, just think it, and that's what you're going to attract. So that's how you can shift and move and get through life, with if you're feeling depleted or if you're feeling down, you're the only one that can pick yourself up before anyone, I believe. So, yeah, I think that's important to always protect ourselves when we're going out.
Yeah, and I think for me, that's kind of the underlying wisdom or lesson from being an empath is finding my own power and realizing that I can do that. You
Yes,
can think you can, but actually practicing it and feeling it and stepping into your own power. And I think about this a lot. It's like talk about past lives, the witchcraft that we're doing today at a safe level of not being persecuted, maybe virtually online, but we are doing
yes,
the work that our ancestors, that our past lives, our past selves only
yeah,
dreamt that they could do, that they could have a platform such as this to speak of what we are talking of now. And my third eye and crown chakra just opened way up as we're talking about this, because we're speaking our reality into existence. And
correct.
yeah,
It's beautiful. I
it's
love it.
beautiful.
Yeah, I think so too. One thing that I've been taught, I've got a few mentors, but one of them was it's like when you go to the gym with our psychic and our ability, it's like a muscle. So the more we train it and the more we work on it, and especially if we do it on a daily basis, you just become stronger and stronger, and your abilities, I've found personally that they're exceeding, and I'm becoming more and more awaken is probably a good way to describe it. And that spiritually, and I think it all ties back into the witchcraft as well. I noticed I did the Mind Body Spirit Festival and 4 days. So you could imagine the energy there. There were people that were receptive, there were people that weren't, there were people in need, like more in need I found there than not. But it is becoming like people were amazed and they were excited to see it. And they're like, oh my God, like I haven't seen a range of, like the herbs like that. And there were so many people interested. Like it made me so happy to know that we are being, accepted, and we are, acknowledged, and people are aware of it, and it's bringing more and more people out, and because it is becoming more acceptable these days, and I think that's great. Like there's an overwhelming lot of witches out there, I think, that are wanting this and wanting to hear this, and there's not enough of it.
Yeah, and for me, the name Witchy Wellness, just like you, came to me a long time before I created this. And
Wow.
and it was clear that a witch to me is a woman who stands for her power, who knows who she
Correct.
is and knows how the magic that she is and that she can manifest and create just by word alone. And it's so interesting how the word witch over time and the stories that we hear and we were brought up with about witches, and they were always very
Correct.
negative, just a woman in her power and how society has looked upon that. And now we are remembering so much of that just intuitively, like you did, and still
Yeah.
do. And we're able to step into that and have different types of experiences, or maybe step further into our abilities to kind of deepen our own our own connection, I guess would be the right word, because it's always been there. What have been
Correct.
can you give us some of your own experiences or different abilities that either in your own life or, what you've seen in people that you've helped too?
Yeah, for sure. I do energetic healing, so I've been told by numerous people that I was actually born gifted. I have energy that heats through my hand, and I can work through a person's body. I can pick up where it needs to be healed on the body. It's not a physical heal as such, which is a broken leg, but I can actually tell if a person has twisted or pulled or something. Like it heats up, and by the aid for me, I use the crystals and candles. So if I have clients coming to me, sometimes, I can feel my throat choking, and that can come down to them not being able to express or speak or, communicate what they would like to do. relationships down on their hip. Like I can feel if there's been arguments, I get visions as well. I can see what the people look like that they actually had an altercation with. I can hear words. And so, my abilities in terms of, like sensing, hearing, feeling, like I get all of them. And I find the more healings I do, the more I felt like I've levitated before, and so's my client. I don't say anything, they will say it first, and then I'll actually like, yeah, well, I felt that too. So it's amazing because you think that's not real, that's unrealistic. That's how we've been, brought up and how we've been educated and how we've been taught. So I've been brought up like that. But then when I experience what happens to me, I'm like, hang on a second, there is actually something out there. Like when I talk or I speak, it's because I've experienced it myself. It's not a hypothetical, or it's not, I've actually done it, and, I felt it. I also do psychic readings. I have Lenormand deck, tarot I'm working with and getting more familiar. I've studied it, but more it's intuitive. Like I'll get messages and get goosebumps when I'm on the right track.
Have you taken the anxious personality quiz yet? Real talk. Not all anxiety is created equal, nor can you manifest the same way with it. Yes, that's true. You can manifest with your anxiety. I created this quiz so you can figure out how your anxiety manifests in your life, your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. And when we have more insight into what are triggers and how to catch them faster, we're able to make lasting change and amplify what we want to manifest in our life. You can find out your anxious personality type at anxiousquiz.com. Learn to embrace and manifest with your anxiety today.
And for each person, it's a different experience. I'm virtually just a channel, and then messages come through. So I could do a reading for you. Some I remember, but others I don't, because it's just a conversation at that time for what that person needs to hear. And, things change as well. So like every reading I've done has come into validation. So, and people have, contacted me. I don't do a lot of readings. It is something that I'm going to be focusing more on. And I'm also getting a lot of people wanting to know, how do you do witchcraft, and what's witchcraft all about? And I'm going to start doing workshops because I feel the need to share, I suppose, is a good thing. And when people are receptive and wanting to learn, that's one of the main things, like the desire. If you've got desire, then you can accomplish anything. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. That's what I believe. And manifestation, like I manifest a lot of things in my life. Like I have I think it's a great ability to be able to manifest what I do. I can see changes in 20 minutes of things happening. Like my candle work, candles can burn in 4 hours, and they can burn in 10 minutes, So when you see a candle burn and you have that much effect doing your rituals, they're working. Like you can actually feel shifts in your body when they're working. And people find that hard to believe sometimes, but when they actually see it happening, they're like, oh, wow. And then they want to do it as well, like they're receptive and they're curious. And yeah, so I think my abilities and, with my tarot and my healings, they also encourage other people to, want to do things. I also read people, their eyes, as they say, the eyes are, you can read people. And I actually, now my abilities are, and I especially got a lot of it at the show, I can see people's eyes. I get scenarios of what's happened. I can feel and I know what's burdening them. And just by a quick conversation, 5 minutes, I can see the change and the lift, like, so I feel like I heal just with word, as well. And a lot of people, I feel that they don't get listened to. So just the mere fact of taking 5 minutes to listen to a person, whether you be a witch or not a witch, I think that's important too, especially with what everyone's gone through these days. So yeah, my abilities tend to help not only with psychic and spirituality, they help in other ways as well.
So beautiful, so beautiful. So we've talked around it, but we haven't talked about really what it means to be a witch, and
Yeah.
what practices, what does that mean, what does it look like? Could you give us kind of a witchy 101, if you will?
Sure. So, to me, being a witch, like I'm proud of being a witch, and I tell people I'm a witch. And part of my practices and what I do is rituals is a big thing of my witchcraft. So, my in my bedroom is really my sacred place. So, I have an altar in there, and I burn a range of herbs. I also burn candles and I have crystals. So, depending on what ritual and how I want to intensify it, I tend to always wear black. That's just my thing of when I'm, doing my rituals. I do wear color, but I also I write down basically an intent of what I want to achieve or what I'm actually working for. So, to give you an example, after the Mind Body Spirit Festival, I felt like I had a lot of heaviness on me. I felt like, a lot of looks, words, whatever it may be, like not a good feeling. So, what I did there is I got my cauldron out, and then I light a coal. I put black salt on every ritual that I do. And then I burnt some rue and I burnt some mugwort. And to top it off, I actually put Vesta powder. And Vesta powder is like if it flames up, it doesn't always flame, but if it flames up, it's like it's breaking. And I just let that smoke and I'll bring it all through my house and just to clear and shift and move. So, and I always let it burn down and finish. Or if I'm doing candle work, I always let them burn down and finish as well. Like my house looks like a shrine. I've imported stuff from all over the world. Just I've got, stuffs, I've got wands, crystals, like everything. And to me, like I've got different points in my house. Like I've got my house gridded. I find that's important, for protection all the time. I've got my front door salted just to stop any unwanted energies coming into my house, because by doing rituals, not only am I, obviously I'm wanting good out of it, but once you open up that portal, you also need protection because you can bring bad in. And I've had bad come in as well. So I've experienced it, I've felt it, I've had to deal with it. So it is good, yes, to practice, but you always need to be aware and alert to protect all the time as well, because it's not a game, it's real at the end of the day, like, yeah, I just find that you always need to be alert, aware, and protect.
Totally, totally agree. And what came to me when you were saying that, doing your own shadow work and what beliefs and darkness that lives in you, how can you kind of tell the difference between the two? And would you approach it in a different way?
Yeah, I can, because you can sort of, I think look, there is a grey line. There's no sort of black or white. It's this or it's that. I think you get to know how you are and generally how your life is. So anything that's different out of that, like extreme luck or bad, like this happens, that happens, and probably I think these days more bad happens than good from what I'm finding, and talking in my own experiences. So it's just a feeling that you get and you experience than just the general day to day. So that's sort of the way I target it, and I try and deal with it, and I try and deal with it in a spiritual way, because like obviously we have to keep going. To me, I'm a fighter. I don't give up, so I keep going. So whatever way I feel will ease me to get to my end result, I will do whatever is necessary. So whether it's just a matter of me just doing the day-to-day and not practicing any witchcraft, I will focus on that. But I feel if I can do my witchcraft as an extra aid to assist in me feeling better or feeling good or whatever it may be, and then that's what I do. It may be as small as like black, just carrying a black tourmaline or obsidian and just carrying that with you to repel and drag and draw in the negativity, and then come home and then just put it in rock salt or blow on it if you don't have rock salt, just to clear it and then put it back in again. Because it's a lot like the secret, or you're having a tool, it aids, and scientifically or however it's proven, it's there, and it is, but it's a mental thing as well. Like, yes, I've got my stone with me today, it's taking all the negativity, it's not coming to my mind. So it's just that shift that you're doing as well. So it can be multiple uses that you're doing it for. So I think just being aware is probably the most important thing, and then just working out how you're going to shift and manage that feeling. And nothing stays the same, so we always need to remember that. Yes, it's bad 1, 2, a week, a month, whatever, it's going to change. So if we tell ourselves and put that in our mind and have that as well as everything else to aid us, you're going to be fine and doing right, at some stage.
Yeah, so one constant in life is change. That and
Correct.
our breath, because without the two, we we wouldn't be here at all. Um,
Correct.
yeah, the power of belief is
Yes.
so strong. And that's what came up for me when you just described that with,
Mm.
just the thought that in your belief that I'm letting go of this negativity, that crystal or the universe, that is their job. I'm going to let go. And almost it's a
Yeah.
surrender in a way.
Yes, surrender. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And there may be listeners that think, no, how can I think like that? Because life is so bad, or, they're in such devastation or distraught. But I understand that. I've been there. I've experienced that multiple times. It's just a matter of, yes, it is, but no, I'm going to be happy. Like, even if you write it on your hand, I'm happy. You look at that and you're going to shift your mind. Trust me, you're going to do it. Like, as hard as it is, as difficult as it seems, no, you can do it. And that's what you got to keep telling yourself. As you said, as long as you're breathing, you've got hope. That's what it comes down
It
to.
it definitely, and for me, the shift of it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. If something's coming up for
Yes,
me, it's
yes,
because I'm ready to heal it. I'm ready to release it, and I'm ready to gain that wisdom to step more into my own abilities and abundance and my own manifestations. And sometimes I'm literally thinking to myself right now, I've been moving energy in different ways in my body lately, and I'm at a new level of surrendering to that. And I'm having this conversation with you, going, oh my gosh, I have people on the show just for me. It's my higher self telling, like, listen to her, listen, because you're just like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. This is like complete surrender. The stories just come up, the fear comes up, but it's all here for you, for your growth, for your expansion, for you, because you're ready. Because you're ready.
yes, yes. That's a great summary, because it's true, and that's exactly how it is. I believe the same. You meet certain people in your life, and it's life lessons. It's what it comes down to, isn't it? To help us move forward in whatever direction is set for us.
Yeah. And I think individually, especially if you're listening to this show and collectively, we all are waking up. This is all at a global level and individual. It's all an opportunity for us to awaken into our greatness. And that means looking at some of the shadows and the fears and the things that we haven't wanted to look at, but also have kept us kind of asleep for so long, if you will.
I think that too. Actually, you just hit on a point, because some of us often ask, why is it happening to us again? Why is it happening to us again? The thing is, it's happening because you haven't dealt with it. You need to deal with it, and then it doesn't come back anymore. I've excelled, or that's probably not the right word, but over the last probably 3 years, um, the place that I'm at now to what I was in the past is like, it's changed so much for the better, because I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I'm going to deal with it, and then I'm going to move past it. And that's exactly what I've done. So the feeling, or the insecurity, or the whatever the feeling was that I had, has brought me to today. And like, I'm in such a better place by going through that, experiencing it as much as I didn't want to face it. It's brought me to a better place now. So I think it's, yeah, if you've got something that's always coming up, hit it on the head, deal with it, and then you're just going to move forward.
Amen. Couldn't have said it better myself. And if you listen to this and you're thinking of somebody, like a fellow soul sister, and you're like, she needs to listen to this, make sure you share it, because you never know. Like we said at the beginning of the episode, you might feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again, but it just takes that one person to listen to it at that right time. It's their intuition speaking to them through us.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Teena, for coming on. I just realized, we're going to start to close the show down today. Was there anything else, witchy or otherwise, that you feel called to speak of before we close the show?
I just think for any, other witches out there, like if this is your passion and this is something that you're drawn to, then, go with it. And if anyone ever comments or has anything to say to you or anything like that, that's not on you, that's on them. So, embrace and do what makes you comfortable, and you're the one that's living your life. So if that's something that you really want to do, like I'm here, you're here, like, if anyone ever needs anything, I'm on Instagram. I'm sure like there's a lot of other fellow witches out there as well. So if anyone's in need or, has anything that they're unsure of, then, like I'm happy to help or whatever it may be, answer any questions. And I just think follow your journey. Like life is short and you really need to make the most of it.
So agree. And I'm thinking here, I've never thought about it this way. And some of my friends approach it this way of being a witch. People approach it as a religion because people believe so many different beliefs in religion, and that's so widely accepted and not questioned at all. So by you standing in your power, I mean, being a witch to me is I am my own savior, and that's not a place from ego. That's from a place of power, of knowing I create my own reality, and so does everybody else. And so does everybody else. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. 100%.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your witchiness with us all today and every single day in your life. And we close the show the same way every week. How may we, the listeners, as a big act of gratitude, be of service for you in return today, Teena?
I just think, I just hope everyone can just put a thought out there, that they're well and they're happy, and, that we just heal each other. And I think if, they can put that back to me, and I'll definitely put that, I'll do a little ritual after here as well. And, just wish everyone well and, a happy life.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and I wish you the same.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me too. It's an honor.
And remember, open up, surrender, trust, and let your body lead the way.